On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the interim heavyweight title fight between Alex Pereira and Ciryl Gane at UFC Freedom Fights 250, the UFC White House event. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats and intangibles. Then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight at the end. Let me know in the comments after you're done watching this which way you're leaning on this fight. I want to get your prediction and want to hear from you after you're done watching this video. Let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. Obviously, these two fighting for the interim title is Tom Aspinall, still recovering from that eye injury. You can see there Pereira 13-3, Ciryl Gane 13-2. 38 years old for Pereira, 36 years old for Gane. 6'4" apiece, 79-81. So fairly even in a lot of ways. Obviously, the big thing here is Pereira moving up a weight class. He fought as low as middleweight in the UFC. So that's one of the big key differences here. Gane's always been a heavyweight. But let's start first with the former light heavyweight champion, former middleweight champion, Alex Pereira, as he looks to capture a third UFC title. So I mentioned everything there, 13-3. This is the co-main event, by the way, and this will be 5 rounds. Pereira is 13-3. He's got, as you can see here, 11 knockouts and 2 decisions to his credit. He is 38 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. So no major advantages there as far as age, height, or reach in this fight. He was the light heavyweight champion 2 times. He had 3 successful title defenses. He was also the former UFC middleweight champion. He was also the former Glory kickboxing champion in multiple weight classes as well. He's got performance of the night 6 times. He's got fight of the night 1 time against Khalil Roundtree. Did not have an amateur debut in MMA. Went straight to the pros, which makes sense because he fought a ton of kickboxing. Made his pro debut in October of 2015. Made his UFC debut in November of 2021. Pereira has gone 10-2 in the UFC. He's got 8 stoppage victories. Some notable wins include Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Jan Blachowicz, Jamal Hill, 2 wins over Yuri Prohaska, Khalil Roundtree, and most recently Magomed Ankalaev, where he captured the title again. His only losses are to Israel Adesanya and to Magomed Ankalaev in his career. Pereira went 33-7 in kickboxing with 21 knockouts, defeated Adesanya twice in kickboxing. One of those was a bit fishy of a decision, but outside that, not too much to debate there. Hasn't had any major injuries in his UFC career, hasn't had any major layoffs. The only fight he's had that some people might feel was close was a decision loss to Magomed Ankalaev. And if you go look on MMAdecisions.com right now, which is a site where the media can submit their scorecards, you'll see that the majority of media members did think that Magomed Ankalaev did defeat Alex Pereira, although it is interesting to see that there was 7 media members, I believe, let me just look here, 9 media members, sorry, that scored the fight for Pereira. 1 scored it a draw, and the rest of them scored it for Ankalaev. That was 11 total, so majority did feel like Ankalaev won that fight. I watched that fight, and I thought Ankalaev won, so not really sure where there was some debate with that. Let's look at his stats. Pereira's 5.16 strikes landed per minute. Striking accuracy is at 62%. His striking defense is at 53%, so he has been hit a bit despite his credentials in kickboxing. Takedown average 0.11. Don't think we'll see a takedown here. Takedown accuracy is at 50%. His takedown defense is at 79%, and his sub-average is 0.2. So that's everything you need to know about Poatan Alex Pereira. Now let's take a closer look at his opponent, Ciryl Gane Bongamin. So you see there, 36 years old. He is 13-2 with 1 no contest. He's got 6 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 3 decisions. He's currently ranked number 1 in the heavyweight division. He's 2 years younger, will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight against Alex Pereira. He's the former interim UFC heavyweight champion. Hope I said that right. So he could be the 2-time interim champion if he gets the win here. He's got performance of the night 3 times against Don'Tale Mayes, Derek Lewis, and Sergey Spivak. He's got fight of the night 1 time against Tai Tuivasa. Just like Pereira, did not have an amateur debut. Went straight to the pros way back in August of 2018, so a little bit later. Made his UFC debut a year later in August 2019. Gane is 10-2 in the UFC with 1 no contest. He's got 6 stoppage victories. Some notable wins for Gane include Junior Dos Santos, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 2 wins over Alexander Volkov, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, and Sergey Spivak. His notable losses include Francis Ngannou and John Jones, and he also had a no contest against Tom Aspinall we got to talk about. He's had a couple of layoffs throughout his career. If you go from Tanner Boser to Junior Dos Santos, there was a 357-day layoff. Going from Sergey Spivak to Alexander Volkov, there was a 462-day layoff. That was the longest layoff of his career. Then going from Volkov to Aspinall, there was a 322-day layoff. I think it's about 200 and something days between Aspinall and this fight, so not much of a layoff there. He's had a couple close fights in his career. Let's go through those because I think it is worth mentioning when you're talking about Gane's record, because obviously he only officially has 2 losses to his name. But the first one was the Ngannou fight, which some people felt like should have gone Gane's way. But if you look on MMAdecisions.com right now, you'll see the majority of media members scored the fight for Gane, just 1 media member scoring the fight for Ciryl Gane. And then if you go look at the Volkov fight, this is where things get a little bit interesting. That's the second Volkov fight. Majority of media members thought that Volkov won that fight. That was at UFC 310 back in December of 2024. Just one media member scoring the fight for Gane, the rest scoring it for Volkov. That was 19 media members scoring the fight for Volkov. I thought Volkov won that fight, but again, teach their own. Of course, he doesn't look good in that fight, and then he looks amazing against Tom Aspinall in their short fight. So it just goes to show that, sometimes things happen fight to fight. Let's look at his stats. So we saw Pereira's. Actually, Gane's got a higher striking output here. He's at 5.29, so slightly ahead here. His striking accuracy is at 61%. His striking defense is at 60%, doesn't get hit as much as Pereira does. And then he has a takedown average of 0.68. His takedown accuracy is at 25%. His takedown defense is at 47%, and his sub average is 0.6. Let's look at the odds. Very close. Again, this is how you know you're getting a good fight here, when the odds are this close. You can see right now, Pereira, Gane coming in at about minus 118. Some books have, you can see on Caesars, they have Pereira as the favorite at minus 125. This is when you know you're getting a good fight, because multiple books are having it opposite way. Looks like the majority of books do have Pereira as the slight favorite here. But again, it's almost a pick'em fight at the time of recording this. Tapology tells a different story. Now, this could also just be because of who we're talking about here. Pereira is one of the most beloved fighters in the UFC. 83% of people picking Pereira to get it done. Those majority of those people, 89.3 taking him by KO TKO. We've got 10.6 taking him by decision, and then with Ciryl Gane, 58% taking him by decision. There's also 35.3% taking him by KO TKO. Over on Fight Signal, which is an AI app I use, and you guys have seen my videos on that, Fight Signal likes Pereira here at 53.34% compared to 46.66% for Ciryl Gane. I will do a AI predicts video and show you all the data as to why they like Pereira in this fight. I'll do that closer to fight time. All right, this fight is tough, kind of like the odds indicate. I'm not going to pretend I'm like an expert at this fight by any means, but I've gone back and forth on this one because, again, Gane did look very good in that last fight, but ultimately, I think when it boils down to it, I am going to go with Alex Pereira in this fight, and I do think he can knock out Ciryl Gane. Now, look, obviously, the big question is, can that power translate to heavyweight with Alex Pereira? We don't really know the answer to that. We'll have to see. We'll find out, obviously, in this fight. He wasn't able to knock out Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight. There are fights where Pereira, didn't always get the knockout, but typically he does. He's got kind of that death touch. There's very few fighters that have the death touch. I put Pereira in that category. I put Ilia Topuria in that category. There's just certain fighters that have that death touch. I don't think Gane has that. Gane, if you look at his knockout wins, a lot of them were TKO wins. They weren't like one-punch knockout wins. They were more like punches and volume. So again, I think Pereira has the edge in that. They're both the same age. You could argue that Pereira has taken more damage. Obviously, that's reflective in the 53% striking defense, but I think that speaks to the fact that I think he's fought better opposition overall. Now, granted, the opposition is better, but it's in different weight classes, so that's something to kind of consider as well. The other thing is Pereira actually accomplished a lot more in kickboxing than, Ciryl Gane did in his career. And maybe if Gane had stuck around, he would have had similar credentials. I don't know, but that's something I can't ignore, is that Pereira is one of the best strikers in UFC history. And, Gane is a great striker, but I don't know if I'd put him in that category. The other thing I wonder with Pereira is he's not cutting any weight really, right? Like he's moved up 3 weight classes. The only time he's ever been finished in the UFC was at middleweight. And I do think the weight cut played a big role in him getting knocked out there. Can Gane knock out Pereira? Probably not. So what I think is going to end up happening in this fight is I think Gane will be a little bit more technical. I could see that. I mean, again, he's a very good striker here. I could see him going out there and maybe landing more shots, but I think Pereira will land the more impactful shots. And I think over time, I think Gane will wear down. He won't be able to take those shots. We have seen Gane hit a few times. I think Tuivasa hit him in their fight. There's been a couple fights where we've seen Gane get, hit a little bit, and I just think he can't get away with that against Alex Pereira. The one thing you look at with Ciryl Gane, yes, he was in there with guys like Francis, although he had the knee injury in that fight. He fought Derek Lewis, who's got some power. I think Pereira is like a better version than both of these guys, and I think he goes out there and just lands the better shot here. And I think Pereira is going to be even more durable, the fact he doesn't have to cut weight. So if you take away the possibility of Gane winning by knockout, he's not going to submit him. He's not going to take him down. I think it's just going to end up being a striking battle, which I think most people feel. And I think the power guy is going to end up coming through, and I think Pereira gets it done. I do think he does knock out Ciryl Gane. I think it's going to be a bit later, though. I think these two trade for a bit. I think it's going to be one of these like really entertaining fights where they kind of go back and forth. They have their moments. Maybe Gane lands, a couple good shots, and Pereira lands like maybe an impactful shot or whatever. But I think as we get closer to the end of the fight, say around the 4th round, I think Pereira puts him away and gets it done. Kind of like the Khalil Roundtree fight. I think that fight, if I remember correctly, was a bit later when he knocked out. Yeah, so 4th round for Khalil Roundtree. I could see the same thing happening here. Although I don't think, Gane will have the same success in that fight. I don't know what happened with Pereira in that fight because he obviously looked better in the last Ankalaev fight. So We'll see. But yeah, for me, what it really, to keep this as simple as possible, I just think the power is going to be the difference here. And I am banking, and yes, I'm kind of guessing as well, that Pereira's power will translate to heavyweight, but it's hard to ignore the credentials and everything that Pereira's done. And the last thing I'll say is that Pereira's actually won at the highest level. He's won the undisputed title. Gane has won an interim title. Pereira's shown in multiple weight classes now that he can do it. I'd rather put my, stock into a guy that's been able to accomplish that than someone who's fallen short in the case of Gane against both John Jones and Francis Ngannou. So my official pick is going to be Alex Pereira, 4th round knockout. So let me know in the comments which way you're leaning on this one, who you're picking, because again, this is one of the toughest fights to pick, I think, in the UFC this year, maybe period. I mean, this is honestly one of the toughest fights to call, I think, in a long time for the UFC, and that's when the matchmaking's good here. So I'm open to all opinions here because I do think it's up for debate. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. This is Early Look. I'll be back next time. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.